How you doing, family? Okay, this is the final part of I guess it's gonna be a four-part series where I'm focusing on the difference between dominant and recessive human forms. And the recessive human form that was created as a result of the dominant human forms, which is the original African, that was caught in an ice age that lasted 100,300 years. And they then morphed into what we call now ice cave people. And some people they call themselves Europeans, Eurasians, and quote unquote white, which I say quote unquote because there is no such thing as a white race or a black race. Everybody is an African. And there is only one human race, okay? Everybody else is connected to some landform, whether it's Europe, Asia, Italy, but as a continent, they deal with continents. That's where the peoples tend to get their names, is from the continent. And since the original continent where all life began was where the major parts of life began was Africa. So that's why everybody is an African. And then everybody shot off from there, okay? Slide over to Brother Philippe Matthews, I'm going to start sharing my screen with you guys here. Yeah, I wanted you to see this slide. I want to start off here because I want you to see my two primary Babas that I'm really working with heavily right now. I'm trying to get them to work with me. So far, I haven't been able to establish any kind of communication whatsoever with them. But I won't give up on it. We'll work on it. But these are my primary Babas, which are guide. The word Baba means guides. And I want to now, as I continue this conversation about dominant and recessive human forms, I want to focus primarily on Brother Philippe Matthews, because he is really one of my primary guides, the people who really have done some of the most recent groundbreaking analysis that I think he nailed it when it comes to explaining the ramifications of the trauma of the enslavement process that went on for 500 years in America and around the world. It's gone on, it's still going on to this day. So we're bucking up on 1,000 years of human beings enslaving other human beings. And that whole concept has been, was always kind of in place, even amongst Africans, but nothing like what the mutated Africans have done to the game. They have moved it to, of course, their level of brutality, which is their expertise, coming out of the ice cave trauma that they have been exposed to. And this trauma, I want to recap and emphasize this point as to why they do not believe in God in actuality. There are some that do, but the vast majority of them, it's all an act. They're angry at God, one, for allowing them to get caught in the ice, because they're dumb brutes basically. And this is a dumb brute mental reaction. Once you've been warped and twisted like they are as a result of the ice cave environment. It's not that they want to be this way. Not every single one of them are that way, but the vast majority are that way, because you can tell this, the vast majority of them, because they just had an election and 78 million out of 320 million people voted for Donald Trump. And he is the quintessential barbarian, white supremacist. And he told you, I am a white nationalist. He just didn't use the word white. And he's just teaching them how to say dog whistle out loud. Move from dog whistle and go into full-blown bullhorn. But be slick about it. He taught them how to talk slick about white supremacy. And he's the quintessential latest barbarian to come out and speak his garbage and, continue their nonsense that is not going to work. So I wanted to point to you, bring this point up again and finish it off with the last little pieces. And I have to finish off the impact of their barbarism and their mutated mental illness that they brought out of the ice cave with them by pointing you to the phenomenal, groundbreaking, absolute, deep, comprehensive work of Baba Philippe Jacques Matthews. And I beseech you, go to his website. I'm going to put a link. I put a link to his work on all of my movies here, because I want you to go to the source, somebody who has analyzed this and who has kind of had the same kind of background that I had, the way growing up poor, dirt poor, and being told, I wasn't told that, I would never be nothing, but he went through an even worse experience than what I went through, with losing his parents early, his father being a very deep, heavy person. My father wasn't like that. So we're kind of different situations. And this is not about a comparison or competition. This is about simply understanding the background that, which really confirms the concept of what existence does, is the universal spirit, which we call Ama. She has created an automatic system that guarantees that the human form will get better. And that, what guarantees that, is challenges and adversity. And this is really a part of the sausage making of evolution. It's ugly, it can be ugly, and that's what we have now with the Ice Age coming into play. And that's really, that's just the nature of the planetary evolution. The planet, the geography, the geographic evolution of the planet itself. And since we are products of the planet, the human form is a product of this planet, then when the planet goes through evolutionary change, we are immediately impacted, because we are products of the environment, and everything is connected. There is no way to separate. On a physical form level, there is no way to separate. And we need to be educated about that. They teach you about geography, but they don't tell you how it relates to the human form. They don't teach you, they do in a backhanded kind of way, but they don't paint the solid picture that where I'm connecting the dots for you, and I'm telling you how the changes that happen on a geographic level with the planet, how they're going to impact the human forms. See, and that's what I'm doing for you here, where they won't do that for you in school, and they certainly won't tell you about your other side, the infinite, permanent, never dying side of yourself. That is the microcosmic being. They don't know nothing about that. They don't want you to know about that, because then you'll realize you can never die, and then they can't fool you with the Bible crap and the Quran crap. They can't fool you with none of that no more, and they're not going to allow that. They want to have total control over defining everything for you, so you'll never have any control of your own. That's their mission. The mutated Africans, that's their mission. Coming out of the caves, having nothing, and seeing the Africans who have everything, never been mutated. So you got to understand that jealousy, that resentment, that hatred, because coming out of the ice, all you know is hatred, murder, and killing and assassinating, genocide, everything that is vicious and evil, because the ice makes you that way. The sun makes you the exact opposite. Loving, compassionate, intelligent, curious about life, having a strong drive to protect life, and they are the exact opposite. And when it comes to mental illness and emotional trauma, emotional dysfunction, then that's what you're going to get with them. They're getting better. They've been out of the caves for about, let's give them 20,000 years, like I said in the last movie. So they're starting to, their humanity is starting to trickle back. But it's still, you can't do 100,000, 300 years. You can't fix that in 20,000 years. Just like you can't tell them that they're sacrosanct and they're special privileged and they're better than everybody else, lie, and tell them they're better than everybody else for 500 years, or at the very least from 1671 during the Baker's Rebellion, when you decided to create and make sure, and this is the rich people now, decided to make sure that the blacks and the Africans and the poor whites and Dutch and Europeans who got together during the Baker's Rebellion and rioted and killed up most of the landowners and slave owners at the time, because they felt they were being treated unfairly, and they were. They're just like they're doing right now. The super rich always feed on, they're like, they're parasites. So they always feed on the poor, and they can't help it because absolute power corrupts absolutely. Especially if you're demented and twisted and you're an ice cave person and you got absolute power. Oh, there's no humanity there. It just ain't there. The little bit that trickles out is just for to be able to say that they're compassionate. And because if you think about them, the billions and trillions of dollars that they own, and every once in a while they put out a million, which is like 1/100th of 1 penny of the billions and trillions of dollars that they have. They don't feel no obligation to give back. What are you talking about? I don't get mad at Elon Musk for, I can't do that. I can't get mad at him. Why single him out? Shit, he's the only one doing anything that's trying to make things better for everybody. What I do not understand is why my Democrats, do stupid things like that. Why you single out Elon Musk? He just got here. He's only been doing this 10, 15, 20 years at best. What about all the Rockefellers? What about all those other people? Don't single out Elon Musk just because he's the richest one today. Don't single him out. I'm sorry. You're dead wrong. Even Jeff Bezos, he just got here. That's Johnny come yesterday. He just got here. You can't single out Jeff Bezos. You can't even single out Bill Gates. You cannot single out these guys. They're just the richest today. But they only been around for like 40, 50 years. Get out of here. You can't single them out. You got to get the roads. You got to get the people who've been here, who've been making money on all these war machines. Bill Gates just came out, barely had 1 war under his belt, and that's the Iraq War. That's it. But he ain't made no money on that. He wasn't selling no weapons and guns and making money on that. Don't even try that. You got to be smarter, Democrats. You got to be smarter. Stop doing this stupid. That's not going to cut it. You're making us look bad, because we should be trying to do something to make this world better. But singling out Johnny come latelys again, you're floundering, you're flapping around. You got to stop that. You got to be smarter. You need some better advisors. You need some younger advisors, because the people you're using right now, they are not in touch with reality. All these folks on YouTube, myself included, have been spewing this stuff out for years now. And it's obvious. What you're doing is silly, childish, and transparent, and nobody's going for it. Not even me, and I'm a proud Democrat. We can do it way better than what you cats are doing. And the problem is, you got too many old people up there running stuff. You need to get some young people, somebody that's in their 20s and 30s, and stop appointing these old farts to the Supreme Court. Get some young people in there. Okay, so I want to talk about what Baba Philippe Matthews, Shock Matthews, has done. He has done some phenomenal work. And I wanted to show you this slide so you can see my two Babas and my Nana, Frances Cress Welsing, who is amongst the ancestors now. But she is one of the first people I read that have really broken down the shame and the resentment and the hatred that what explains the shame and the resentment and the hatred of the Eurasians, the mutated Africans that have crawled out of the caves in the last 20,000 years, and why they're so motivated and why their drive to survive can supersede our African compassion, decency, loving, and goodness. That's not good enough when you come up against a barbarian. You have to really step up your war game. And us Africans and decent, good other humans on the planet, of which there are quite a few. However, we have no war game. We have no tactical, strategic, kick-ass mentality. We're not developing properly, and we need to work on that. We really, really need to work on that in order to subdue and corral these vicious, filthy things that are going around right now, trying to go backwards to a time where they could murder and kill anybody they want. And you gotta understand that dynamic too, folks. In an environment of loving, compassion, peace, and tranquility, and plenty and abundance, when you run into people that are desperate, have extinction hanging over them, where they're going to be babied right out of existence, that kind of terror, even if it's a mental terror, paranoia. Paranoia is something based on or an emotional reaction based on something that's not real. That's the definition of paranoia. What you're scared of doesn't exist. It's a part of the schizophrenic paranoia mental illness, okay? And when you think of yourself as a race, white, quote unquote, white, and you think that you actually are normal or have some right to exist just because you're white, and we can't blame them. 500, 600 years they've been telling these crazy people this crazy stuff, and they've been believing it. So now it's in their DNA, and it's gone down. How many generations? You got 4 generations for every 100 years, and you got 600 years more or less. You've been telling these folks they're better than everybody African. You can't fix that. You can't fix that in no 55 years. That's barely 2 generations. 1965, when you brought in civil rights, you can't fix that. I'm sorry. These crazy people are going to be running around for a long time. And you already know there's 78 million of them that voted for that filthy thing. Rump. Right there tells you all you need to know, folks. America is corrupt to its core. There's only 150 million Americans that can vote. If that many that can vote, and they're growing every year, more are eligible. But the education system is not doing anything to turn this around. You haven't had, there's no curriculum in the school to say, oh, we lied for 500 years. Oh, the Africans, they really did create everything. We lied. It had nothing to do with Copernicus and Newton and all these Greeks and all these Italians and people. We made all that shit up. You're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. You can forget that. And Africans, African Americans, I'm going to tell you right now, you can forget about a European educating you about the truth of your greatness, of your ancestors and our people, Sun people, and what we have given to the world. If you think that they're going to teach you, you can forget it. They're going to do all kinds of, they're going to dodge and pretend they're going to do something, and then they're going to back up 5 steps. They're going to do 1 step forward, and they're going to back up 10, 20. Because they don't want you to know that they ain't shit and you created everything. They don't want you to know that, because then you're going to stop believing their crap. You're going to throw the Bible in the garbage, the Quran in the garbage, and you're going to start seeking real truth. And it's going to be amongst the people like Philippe Matthews and Baba Kaba Khomeini. See, this is where you're going to find it with Naeem Akbar, Obed Shaka, this brother here, what's his name? Malefe Kente Asante. That's where you're going to find it. You might get a nanite from Tim Wise and a couple of other good-minded Europeans, mutated people. And, you might get something from them. You might even find a couple of good-hearted people like Rachel Maddow on MSNBC and Larry O'Donnell on MSNBC. You're going to get some good, honest efforts, and they really do sincerely mean what they're trying to do. But because they know that what has been happening was wrong, but the mutates will use them to get in and do more damage. They're not prepared for what's with these people, the level of desperation, because Larry doesn't have that. He's Irish. Rachel Maddow doesn't have that. She don't have that. She don't understand that kind of desperation and hunger. They don't believe in that crap. See? All right, so Brother Philippe Matthews, I want to bring this up to you because I want to show you this masterful work that he's done. I wanted you to see this, and now I'm going to stop. I want to go and share something else. I'm going to stop this, and I want to go show you another share that I want to do here, where I pulled out some slides of his. He did a masterful job here. He did this presentation. This is very old. This stuff that I'm going to be bringing up to you, where he talks about, he explains to us how there's nothing wrong with us, and everything that has happened to us is has caused the trauma and the nonsense and the madness that we're going through. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you. Let me get this blown up big. Yeah, this piece here, let me go back to sharing, share screen. Where is it? Okay, it's this one here. Overshare sound, okay. Okay, and what I want to show you here is look at the noses of this brother. Clearly, this is an African, and this is underwater. And this is for the past, this shows some work that has been done thousands of years ago that was carved, and everybody's African. And look, it's underwater, folks. That's how long ago it's been done. It's just phenomenal. The work that we have produced thousands of years ago. But I want to go start you here with Baba Philippe Matthews and let him, I'm going to show you just a few of these slides. I'm not going to bore you to death with all these slides and whatnot, but I wanted you to see this and talk about the fact that what this ice cave environment has done to mutate these Africans into the filthy animals that they are now. And I say that because I don't want you to get lulled into a false sense of security about them. And let the Larry O'Donnells and the Rachel Maddows, who they will wear as sheepskin for when they come to do an ugly to you. And you don't have to be overtly worried about this, but you just have to understand why it's very important for you to stick with your African people who are honesty, and even them you have to watch out. There's a lot of con artists amongst the Africans who have been mutated and are mentally demented by being around mentally demented mutated African that they call themselves European and quote unquote white. And to show you what I love about what Baba Matthews has done is I wanted to show you this slide where he talks about the different 4 traumas, and it's kind of hard for me to see which ones that are coming up, but so I have to kind of go through it to get to the ones that have the breakdown for you. You know, or here he talks about what I love about this is he talks about the whiteness, and there are several authors who have focused on this. And when it comes to talking about whiteness, I want to explain to you about this, and I'm going to have to jump around because the way these slides were set up, they kind of fell out of order, okay? But you need to know about this miscegenation laws and things, and it's kind of out of order the way they did this. But this is the key point here. Let me see if I can find the Bacon's Rebellion. This is the Bacon's Rebellion, okay? And this happened back in, I believe, 1612 or no, 1676, duh. Bacon's Rebellion was armed rebellion in 1676. So notice the date, 1676. When was America formed, family? 1776. So this Bacon Rebellion happened 100 years before the American nation was stolen and created from the English. So when the mutates came out of the cave, they had to, I'm gonna just give you that briefly in case you didn't see the other movies. They had to steal, rob, and take everything, because when they came out of the caves, they had absolutely nothing. And they didn't even know that they were going to be annihilated by nature due to extinction, because they are mutate and they're recessive and they were never supposed to exist anyway on the surface of the planet. If they want to exist, they can go back down in the caves and have a ball and mate amongst themselves and carry on and do whatever and last as long as they can, you know. But the moment they come out into the sun, it's game over. Okay? So this is why they created whiteness. It was never created out of some just pure hatred of Black Africans. It was created for the primary reason that motivates most Europeans and mutated Africans: wealth and money, what they can get for nothing. And that's why that's why right now, the wealth, they have something called a wealth gap, where 1% of the wealthy people on the planet, who are the 1%ers, have 80 to 90% of the wealth. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and YouTube and the internet is going to put an end to all of that. It's going to be slow, gradual. It may take hundreds of years, and that's good, because we don't want too much sudden change. That's not good. Sudden change is not good. That's not good at all. Okay. So here we are talking about Bacon's Rebellion. And I'm not going to read. All you need to know is that it happened in 1676. And if you look at this picture here, you're going to see that there were, if you look here in this picture, you're going to see there's an African here on the drums. There's another African, I think, right here. And you have Europeans, and you have all kinds of Asians, and there's an Asian somewhere in there. Let me see if I can get this moving. Okay, no, all right, they don't have it there. Okay, but there is an Asian somewhere in there, all right? And the reason why this next step happened, and then that's when this was put into place in 1681, because of the 1676 happening. So 1681 is just 5 years after 1676. Now, America still wasn't formed. This was just a colony of England and Spain. Spain had some other parts of the United States, what became the United States, that are further to the west and all of that. And there was certain Louisiana purchases and a whole bunch of other things where, you know, the United States purchased all of those colonies from them and all that other crap. But the bottom line is, well, they all were stealing and robbing and murdering and assassinating, and they had been doing this to each other for thousands of years, hundreds of years. So when they got over here, it was just more the same. Kill, take, rob, rape, and take whatever you can get. It's not pretty. They have nothing to be proud of, except that they are barbarian and they're brutes, and they can beat up on anybody and take whatever they want because they can. What you gonna do about it? Now you gotta understand that's their mentality. What you gonna do about it? Okay, that's what you're dealing with. Kick your ass, do whatever. What you gonna? If you can't stop me, then shut up and sit down. Okay, that's their attitude. All right, now, and this right here, 1681, since they weren't able to control unified masses of people who are fighting for civil rights and equal pay and fair pay and access to the resources, you know, this is what happened. There was rebellion, and they wanted to make sure that never happened again. So they instituted what they call now very commonly the divide and conquer tactic. Call one, get one, make the color of their skin and put them in a category above all certain others, and on down. We know the story, you know the story. And that's what they did, and it's still in place to this day. And a lot of people voluntarily buy into it because they have a privileged position. The Hispanics, lighter skinned people, you go to India and the colonization, they did the same thing there. And to this very day, the Indians, the colonization is over, the imperialization is over, but the mental illness is still in place. That's because the human form works on cycles. And if you've been through 100, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 100 years of cyclic mental illness, lying and hypnosis and mass nonsense backed up by a dumbass Bible and a Kohan supporting the BS, then the human form, in the absence of any kind of spirituality or righteousness, the human form is going to do exactly what human form does: comply. It has no emotions, it has no compassion, ain't none of that. Don't exist for the human form and the instinctive intelligence. It is a brute, dumb, raw, and it does whatever it is told repeatedly. You go to India, dumb brutes, still to this day. Great at technology, great at computer, great at software writing, and great at science and everything, but they're still dumb brutes, the human form, and they still have that ass backwards ice caveman mentality. And it's going, like I said, it's going to take another 10, 20,000 years, equal and opposite force. You can't apply a force for 20,000 years of murder, cannibalism, rape, robbing, stealing, lying, and doing whatever you can because you can. You can't fix that, family. You can't fix that with no 50 years or 10 years. You got hundreds and thousands of years. Because we ain't even talk about the Crusades, which went on for hundreds of years in the name of their Bible. That was the weapon that they used, the excuse for why they got to slaughter every man, woman, and child in an entire race of people or group. And they were the white ones. Imagine what they did to the African. Well, they tried to do Africa. They couldn't do as much in Africa because they were too far away from all of the weapons and stuff. They haven't done the new murder and slaughtering on a new level because now they got smart bombs and weapons. They can sit on the computer and wipe out whole groups and tribes, and nobody else in the United States would even know about it because the news people may make sure they don't know about it. The only thing you see on the news is what they want you to see. They could be over there slaughtering, and they have been over there slaughtering, murdering, and NPR is one of the only national press companies that is going around trying to tell the truth. But most people don't want to even look at that because they're not entertaining. They don't have dancing and bullshit. They don't have none of that. Short-minded. And most African Americans, they don't want to be bothered with none of that. You know why? That's too much work. They got to actually think. They actually got to think critically, and they got to actually feel something and try to be sympathetic. And then that means they can't watch their football. They can't watch the basketball game. Oh shit, you want me to go start thinking and caring about some people over in Africa that are being murdered and slaughtered? Shit, if they don't do nothing to stop it by themselves, what you want me to do? I want my popcorn. I want my Nikes. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I having to care about those people. And those are the ones that are in the church. And that leads to the next subject. After they created this madness with the Baker's Rebellion, then we go into the Stockholm Syndrome. Let's look at that. This is the result of the enslavement process and the oppression of being under a system where you, an African American, your ancestors were less than human. This thing was the beginning of the slippery slope where the Irish, the Italian, the Europeans, and the Asians, they're even coming over here and they want to be honorary white because they don't want to be with the losers. They want to be with the winners. The Puerto Ricans and the Ricans and the Hispanics, they don't want to be with the losing niggas. They want to be with the blacks. They want to be with the winners. And white folks are the winners, even though we don't agree with whatever. Look, hey, they're the winners. That's the way they look at it. So a lot of them would tell their own kids, oh, you're white. You're not really, you don't have no, you're not Taino. That Taino that was there in Puerto Rico, the place they call Puerto Rico, these people, those white looking ones, those are the Spanish mutates that went over there and mated with the black Tainos that were there. And even to this day, the ones over there now, they see themselves as better than the black Taino or original people. They don't want to be associated with that. Okay? Now that's the truth about Puerto Rico. You know? So everywhere you go now on the planet, this demented mental illness is widespread, ubiquitous everywhere. And you can choose to live that unrighteous, despicable life if you want to. Okay? But my spirituality, my sense of decency won't allow me to even buy into that. That's why I make my own money, because I can be my own man. my own person. I can watch all this madness and I can teach about it, but I refuse to buy into it. Now I got the economic freedom and the wisdom and the knowledge to make sure that I never have to die. My body is not going to time out, and I'm going to have that filthiness on my consciousness. I'm going to make sure of that. Okay? And y'all can do what you want to do, but the reason I'm making these videos is so you have a choice and you understand what you're doing. Okay, I don't believe there's no, some people say, oh, well, you know, there's a karmic law, and there is a karmic law while you're alive. But there's still no evidence to prove that and I even believe that it's a possibility that if you do ugly and vicious and negative, hateful, evil things here, the next life, you could be born into a body that's quadriplegic and some kind of illness and some kind of white with a cancer or something like that, because you knew you were doing evil and you volunteered for it. When you do it purposefully, knowing it's wrong, there's got to be a karmic law enforcement kind of retribution that you're going to live that we don't know for a fact that it will even happen. So I can understand how people could be so cavalier about it and just say, look, right now, hey, I don't want to be one of them. I'm gonna go along with the rest of the madness and the insanity and mistreat and make sure I don't, and I always treat them, the darker ones, that they're not as good as the whiter ones. See, and you're gonna buy into that and go ahead. I'm not willing to. Now, if you want to talk about not be willing to take a chance on something, I'm not willing to take that chance. I don't want to be on that. I don't want that on my record. I don't want to be connected with that kind of ignorance and that kind of cold-blooded, greedy. I don't want that. I don't want to be connected with anything like that. So I'm gonna keep educating people about this, okay? And so that leads to this kind of situation here, where you're gonna have people who are going to buy into this nonsense and start believing the madness, you know, and all of these different rules that were created out of this creation of white. And you're going to have a very honest and decent people like Dr. Jacqueline Badalora. And her book, she talks about this masterfully. If you read here, she said, whiteness is endemic to American history and life today. Everyone in the US has a relationship to it, regardless of the racial category with which one identifies. So there is that word, identifying. So identifying is the critical word there amongst the critical thinkers. Identifying means that you voluntarily want to categorize and agree with agree with being categorized at whatever culture or racial group that they have created. Okay, right? So just as both men and women live life interacting with the deeply embedded forces of white male patriarchy, where male rules, in other words, all of your lineage follows, your name follows on a man. That's this American Eurocentric cultural system. African is the opposite. Everything follows the mother side. Even Hispanics in Puerto Rico follow the mother's side. They keep the mother's name. So that's that Taino connection. So they like the music, they like the food that we taught them, the Spanish, and they like all of that, but they don't want you to see the black ones, and they don't want you to call them, they don't want to be associated with that. Okay, so that's why you have here this male patriarchy that she's talking about. The same is true of whiteness then. Okay, just as patriarchy was imposed by law, so too was whiteness. It was imposed by the miscegenation laws. Okay, that's these miscegenation laws or anti-miscegenation laws. They call them the miscegenation laws. Okay, that's what they call them. And this author of the author of Birth of a White Nation, Dr. Jacqueline Badalora, and she said that piece that I just read to you. Okay, let me see. Okay, Dr. Baba talks about that. Okay, and I wanted to show you this. What is whiteness? Whiteness is the same as saying white supremacy. Sociologist Ruth Frankenberg from 1993 defines whiteness as a location of structural advantage, of race privilege. That's why I say they're privileged and entitled. Second, it is a standpoint, a place from which white people look at themselves, at others, and at society. Third, whiteness refers to a set of cultural practices that are usually unmarked and unnamed. Okay. All right. And let me move this thing. I have a thing I want to read this. And it says, Reverend Shot Philippe Matthews says that whiteness is a systematic, deliberate act of racial and domestic terrorism. And again, that's what I say. They use that in order to make you believe in their Bible. Okay? They want to make you believe in their Bible. And they use fear and terror tactics by creating a hell that doesn't exist. Threaten you that eventually the world is going to go up in a ball of fire. So you better believe in Jesus, dude that never existed. Just a hodgepodge of philosophers and guides, babas, who were guiding people to spiritual righteousness hundreds of thousands of years ago after they crawled out of the caves. They found out about it, that the Africans had been doing this and running democracies for hundreds of thousands of years while they were in the ice cave environment, while the other Africans on the planet were evolving and smarter and learned about righteousness and science, psychology, sociology, all the sciences, astrology, astronomy, geography, you name it. All of that was evolving and growing while they were in the caves, eating each other, not bathing, and murdering and killing and mastering the art of rape, murder, and genocide, murdering and killing everything in sight because they can. Not mine. You don't have to trust me. Read the Iceman Inheritance, and you're gonna hear it. Just look at their history. Ask them to tell you about Napoleon's conquerors, the things, and the Romans, and all the stuff, and then the Crusades. I'm not making this shit up. This is their history. They're not trying to hide it. They just don't want you to hear about that part. And then now they want you to pretend everybody is about Martin Luther King and turn the other cheek, and John Kennedy and the Kennedys, and they were nice, and all that. FDR did some beautiful things, finally, after hundreds of years of back of the bus and pure raw brute slavery. And you gotta remember, FDR and them guys were the last ones to come over here. His family. They weren't here when all of that slaughtering and the raping and the ripping, tying horses to pregnant African women and ripping them in half and watching the babies drop out. They weren't here for none of that. They came here, they were the good Europeans, because Europe made sure they got rid of all of them filthy things, and they put them on boats hoping they would die, because most people that took the trip over to America died on the trip. So the ones that survived were the strongest of the retards and the mentally ill mass murderers. And that's why they came over here eating the Native Americans, slaughtering them, filling them with diseases, and just wiping their asses out, because the Native Americans and the Africans that were here had no concept of a liar and a filthy, evil thing like they were. And Europe didn't want nothing to do with them, so they emptied their jails out, and they emptied all their mental asylums out. And so now Europe became France and all them, and Italy, and all them started moving up because they got rid of these filthy things and sicked them on the United States. And they did that shit for 500 years. So by the time Roosevelt and his people came over here, they were the creme de la creme. They were the most educated. And they had to have money to even come over here, because you had to have money to be able to afford that trip. So the Roosevelts, the Roosevelts, they came over here. They were the largest pane glass manufacturing company in the world. Do the research and look it up. They were the best of the best. When they started coming over here, that last little flotilla of those people coming from what's that island over there in Manhattan? I forget, there's an island over there that people came to when the Italians finally got started to come, and they were poor and whatnot, but they weren't the filthy things that came here 500 years before that. That the Europe and all them, Spain and all of them, was dumping the garbage out of their societies and dumping it over here, hoping they die in the process. They want to get rid of the filthy things. So what was left in Spain, what was left in Greece, what was left in Germany, what was left in France, what was left in Italy, and all in England and all these European places, that was the creme de la creme. That's how you think they got to be so good and they got to be as sophisticated as they were. And that's why they couldn't beat the Americans, because the Americans, by the time they, whatever survived the trip over here, were the strongest of the filthy beasts. And the Africans that they brought over here were the strongest Africans, who survived worse treatment than what the goddamn Europeans had gone through. And the Europeans were getting wiped out. And they had the best food, they had the best accommodation, they had the best air, they had everything. The Africans that were in them holes side by side, shitting and peeing and throwing up on each other for 3 months trip from Africa to here. The only ones that could survive were the strongest of the strong. And those are our ancestors that we came from. And that's why we are such kick-ass African Americans right now, because only the strongest could survive that trip and then survive 400 years of enslavement by these filthy things. You got to understand the context. I'm not telling you this so you can hate anybody. I'm telling you this so you can value the strength of our people that survived underneath these filthy things. And you got to understand why some of us like me have a built-in dislike and just don't want nothing to do with them. It's not about me being like them and hating like they hate. I don't want nothing to do with anybody that has that kind of background. I don't want to have to wonder about what's going on in their head. I got a few more 20, 30 years left on this planet, and I don't want to waste a nanite of a second dealing with any of that madness. I'm doing this because I want y'all to be able to have a choice, an educated, critical thinking choice. And I'm not the only one. Jacqueline Ballora is trying to show you that. This lady right here is trying to tell us about that. They're not the only ones. There's so many brilliant scholars who have done this work. Where's this other lady I had here? what's her name? This is getting into the Stockholm syndrome. This is Donna Francis Cress Welsing, and she does a brilliant job. You say we are the only people on this entire planet who have been taught to sing and praise our demeanment. I'm a bitch, I'm a hoe, I'm a gangster, I'm a thug, I'm a dog. If you can train people to demean and degrade themselves, you can oppress them forever. You can even program them to kill themselves. And they won't even understand what happened. And I'm going to put an end to that with these YouTube movies, because I'm going to explain every bit of it to you, so you're going to understand exactly why we do what we do. Okay? I'm trying to find this slide of this lady who is and this is that moron, Kanye West. He's just such an absolute idiot. And he's standing next to that filthy thing. That seals the deal for me. You got to be a moron. Okay? What is that lady? Can't find. But I wanted to talk about this capture bonding and this trauma bonding. These are these syndromes that Africans have and African Americans have, that's a direct result of being captured, kidnapped, enslaved, which is being corralled, by mutated, mentally ill people. Okay, and that creates a trauma bond. Okay, where you suffer the concept called a Stockholm syndrome, where you try to get close to your captor. Okay, the slides are really, here it is, Stockholm syndrome and capture bonding. They are really out of order. This thing is all the way down on slide number 33. Ain't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about, what I was trying to talk about earlier. But but this is the key thing I want to talk with you about here, is this Stockholm syndrome. This is a result of, and I'm going to breeze on this and I'm going to move on, because this is something that most African Americans are terrified of facing and dealing with, because you're going to have a strong, most African Americans not critical thinkers and just educated and definitely jacked up by that Bible. They don't want to hear none of this stuff, because this means work. That means you're going to actually have to do some work. And God knows African Americans, after being traumatized for all these years and finally getting on their feet, they don't want to hear about this. They don't want to hear about doing no more work. It's about giving them some more work to do. They don't want. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to be bothered with it either. But this is what it is. These are these traumas that the different kinds of things that come out of being brutalized and continue constantly. You've been oppressed so constantly, education-wise, religiously, and spiritually, and physically oppressed so long, so constant. When people tell you about it, you want to pretend it really don't exist. And to try to help it go away and to cope with the trauma, you start falling back on these kind of tactics. You suffer from Stockholm syndrome. You start bonding with your captor. You want to try to go along and get along so you can stop getting beat up and thinking about, you don't even want to think about being beat up and oppressed. And I don't blame you, because that's not a healthy thing to keep thinking about. You want to think of yourself as being free and liberated. And that's a much better feeling to have, to be able to think like that, okay? But there are a lot of us who are not capable of understanding, what's going on with this Stockholm syndrome and with this capture bonding and trauma bonding. You're bonding with your captor, and bonding with the person that traumatized you, you know, because they're such brutes and filthy animals that you would rather try to get along and go along with them so you don't have to actually do any more work than you need to. Because at this point, the idea of having to go back and overcome and fix all of that is a humongous, it seems like an overwhelming task that most people don't want to deal with. And I don't blame them on that point. I really don't, you know? Okay, so let's look at this. Again, Dr. Badalora, she talks about the only two reasons white people were invented as was a matter of law. And the two reasons is to divide and conquer humanity. And the church and the Bible is the #1 weapon for this. The old thing of the miscegenation laws and the miscegenation laws in America from 1680 something decreed by law that Africans could not own guns, could not go into a court and sue or apply any, seek any retribution and equality from the law against a white person. So in other words, white person, and even to include murder. They could murder your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your child, your son, your daughter, anybody, your dog, and there's nothing you can do about it. See, if you don't take their head off right on the spot, then there's nothing else you can do about it. That's why it was better, and I say this to this day. If you get confronted with a white Confederate, one of these Boogaloo boys, kill them. Because 9 out of 10, they're going to go into court and they're going to kill you and they're going to get away with it. So your best bet is to kill them first. Because if they kill you, they're going to walk. 9 out of 10. Every once in a while, you get a George Floyd. Every now and again, you get a Ahmaud Arbery. You get something that everyone might get one. But the vast majority of them, they're going to get away with that. They're going to walk. They murder your mama, your daughter, everybody, anybody, and get away with it. This court system is designed to let them get away with it. If you look at the laws and this Fifth Amendment and all this stuff, it's designed to take care of criminals. That's what America is founded on, criminals, okay? And the second one is to protect and ensure the interest of the 1%. And so the 1% are living on such a high level, you can't even get near them. So they don't give a damn about none of these laws and all this crap. They're not subject to all of this law and stuff. Only poor people. And that's why I'm telling you, you got to get in on this stock that's going on with this Tesla stock and these cryptocurrencies, because you got to economically move yourself. Because you got your righteousness. You're a spiritually decent person. You're a morally decent person. You're a principled person who has compassion and love for other human beings. But that won't matter. It won't matter if you hanging around. Well, me, I love being around poor people of color. I just love everything about us. So I'm not normal. The average person wouldn't want to be around African poor people. I love being around African poor people because you know what? They keep it real. Try not to get hit by one of the stray bullets and one of the young people do something crazy. But you know, it comes with the turf. I would rather risk being hit by a stray bullet in a poor black amongst my young, beautiful African people than to be sitting up next to one of these filthy, mutated, mentally ill people sitting in front of you pretending that they like, and I don't have nothing in common with them. So, you know, it's your choice. That's my choice. Love Sister Jacqueline Badalora, Elon Musk, love them as agapic love I can have for another human being. I'm not going to stop being I'm not going to lose any of my humanity because of what they have done. But I'm not going to also, I don't feel any allegiance. I don't feel like I owe them anything. In fact, the other way around, they owe me, not Elon Musk, not Badalora. The government owes African Americans everything. We got 350 years of free labor that we're gonna get paid for. And I'm never gonna give up on that. All right. But in the meantime, if I got a choice, when I wake up in the morning, I don't give a damn how bad they are. I'll take a fourth frequency Black person over, and I'll take a third frequency. Personally, I think first, second, and third are all Africans. The fourth frequency people are the mutated Africans, the Europeans. They're the fourth frequency. I don't know why Baba Matthews decided to call those mutates two. I wouldn't give them second. I'd put them in fourth place. First, second, and third is all African. Africans who were the originals, Africans who were the suck-ups and the Negroes, and matter of fact, make them third. Put the brothers who you nigger bitch brothers, make them second frequency people. See, because what they're doing is out of, you could reach them and make them back into a first frequency person faster than you can make a second frequency, a third frequency Negro. Because a third frequency Negro think he's already there. You can't fix that. I wouldn't even waste my time with one of them. Let them go. I don't even want to be around them. But give me my first frequency, Afrocentric, African-centered, African-loving people who got their spirituality together and their metaphysics together and their economics together, and then give me my nigger bitch hoe brothers. I'll take them with their nails and all that stuff, because you know what? They are 100% African, and they know it. You're not going to hear them say, I ain't no damn African, like Morgan Freeman said. You won't hear no brother in the neighborhood, a Jamaican or somebody like that, say they're not an African. You might hear one, but I guarantee you hear those damn Morgan Freemans and all these other people who this brother who I respect a lot. They bring him on MSNBC a lot. He's coming out of Morehouse and coming out of Howard University. All them Howard University Negroes, they'll tell you, I ain't no damn African. They don't want nothing to do with Africa. They don't want nothing to do with Africa. And that's why I don't want nothing to do with them. Love them to death. Now, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to hang around. I don't want to be socializing with them. I don't care how much money I get, folks. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to find me the ghettoest of the ghetto Black, and I'm going to get as close, because when I get up in the morning, I don't give a damn if their pants are down to their ankles. I'd rather get up in the morning and see that black ass in the morning than to get up and see one of these wannabe Eurocentric acting Negroes. I don't want Bible thumping. When I hear somebody talking all that Christian crap, it makes me want to throw up, because I know they're completely and totally mentally ill. The brothers that we see out there, they got their pants hanging below their butts and all that other stuff. They look at their hair, they're nappy, they got their dreads in there. Give me my brothers. Give me my sisters with their nappy head and their big earrings and their processing the colors and everything in there. I'll take them over one of them Negroes any day of the week. And that's what I'm doing these movies for. I'm not trying to reach no Negroes. I'm trying to reach that, and they should be the third frequency. They should be the first frequency, should be the Afrocentric brothers like me, into African liberation and Black liberation and reparation, get paid for the shit that they did to my ancestors. And these beautiful Black, nappy-headed, Jamaican, ganja smoking, give me them. I'll take every one you got. You don't want them, give them to me. I'll take every one of them. The sister, give me all of them. Big booty, talking mess. I get annoyed with them because they're not reading enough, but I love them because they are purely African. They have decided they don't want to be no kind of way white Euro. They don't want none of that. See, and a lot of this, a lot of these Europeans, they respect that, and they love these brothers because you know why? They keep it real. They cuss, they drink, which they shouldn't do. I wish they would stop that. But the weed smoking, I don't have a problem with that at all. Pants behind the butt, I don't care about that either. Don't mean nothing to me. Shit, if they hadn't locked them up in jail and made them prisoners, when their parents wouldn't come up and take their belts and their shoelaces and whatnot, they wouldn't be doing none of that stuff. But you see how they made a whole fashion statement out of that. And I'm so proud of these young brothers. They made a fashion statement out of them taking away their belts and see, that's African. See, that's why I love them. They take lemon and they have made lemonade out of that, folks. You got to give them credit for that. And I respect them and I honor them. They will come around faster than them Negroes. They will come around and get into their Afrocentricness and they will jump into that way faster. So I say first frequency, that's us Afrocentric, critical thinking, well-read, spiritually based African brothers and sisters. And the second frequency is them ones that are going around nigga bitch hole because they don't know no better. But you know what? I think I can reach them faster than I can reach one of them Negroes. Because them Negroes, no matter what you do with them, they're going to always swear they're better. They're better than us first frequency people. And absolutely better than the nigga bitch hole brothers and sisters. See? And I know that. And you know what? They got a lot more work to do. Because the two that are never going to get it together and never going to face it is going to be the Negro and the mutated African, the albino, the European. They will never, because they're recessive, they're dying out. Their level of trauma and their level of desperation will not allow them to embrace the African and the fourth frequency, what Professor Baba calls them fourth frequency. No, that's second frequency. They're right next to first frequency. These Negroes, third frequency ones, and that fourth frequency European mutate. Even Sister Battlora, she would tell you, oh, you ain't gonna never reach them. So put them forth, put them in the back of the, because the way I like what Baba Philippe Matthews has put together is I want to work with the ones that are easiest to reach, and I call them the second frequency ones. The young, Afrocentric, nappy-headed, look at the way they dress. I think this the most beautiful things on the planet. Young brothers with their nappy head and their dreads, just stick it all out, all over the place. Just to me, and I love children, I love young people, and they're artistic and creative. Look at their dance, the way they're doing all this different dance that they're creating, skateboarding and all these things, taking bikes and doing things on the front wheel and all this stuff. Ain't nobody doing that. That's that African creative energy. Come and give me I'll take what Philippe Matthews called fourth frequency. And I understand you, Brother Philippe. I know you are ashamed of those brothers because you feel they should be doing better. They should be calling their women bitches and hoes and all that stuff. And they shouldn't. They definitely shouldn't. But you know what? The word bitch and hoe is a metaphor for something that they really do love. They really do love. They love each other. They really do. And they're hypersensitive about being respected and disrespected and all that stuff. And you'll get one off, but you know what? You'll never, ever see one of my brothers with their pants hanging below the young boys. You'll never see them go shoot up an entire school full of people just because they felt like it. You never will see that. How come we don't hear about that? You hear about them coming with guns and they shoot into a crowd and they'll hit one or two people they didn't mean to and whatnot. But their intent is not to murder the whole school full of people just because they teased them a little bit. Brothers, young brothers, stronger than that. They have a higher sense of humanity and morality. And if they are acting in an inhumane and barbaric way. That's because they've been in jail with them goddamn filthy, them filthy things. The mutates. That's why they're that way. The gangsters and all these guys that were selling drugs and whatnot, they're trying to survive. I don't have no problem with them on that. I have a problem with them shooting and killing people for it, but I don't have a problem with them doing what they got to do to survive. That's what we got to do to survive, family. Okay, so I wanted to talk with you about this trauma and this stuff and the Stockholm Syndrome. I'm sorry I didn't have the slides in place and in order where I could do a better job of reaching you, but I wanted to talk with you about these traumas, and I don't know why I can't find this particular slide that had the 4 traumas broken down one by one, because Baba Philippe Matthews did a really truly masterful job of creating this analysis, which does a masterful job of explaining this is the residuals, what happens as a result of it being exposed to 450 years of trauma and back of the bus, enslavement and back of the bus by Africans, the Native Americans here, African Native Americans and Native Africans, okay? So, and this is the whole syndrome and everything that happened as a result of being corralled, captured, and surrounded by sick, mental, demented people, okay? And I will link, I'm gonna do a follow-up on this, and I'm gonna put this together and give you a presentation of this just strictly for that, and it's gonna be short, 15, 20 minutes, and that's it, okay? To wrap up this whole thing, because now I wanna move away from the dominant and the recessive theme and all of the different characteristics and ramifications and the different types of motivations of the dominant African versus the mutated African, Eurocentric, Eurasian desperation characteristic, and that whole side of megalomania, you know, and what motivates them and why we basic African descendants no longer, we weren't able to stop them from capturing us and taking over, because we don't have that desperation, we don't have that hunger, and you need that in order to be able to be as brutal as they are, okay? So because the Russians are still doing it. So I'm gonna wrap this one up, and I hope I've given you a little bit more meat on the bones. And in the next one, I'm gonna do a quick, like I said, I'm gonna put this slide thing together. I'm gonna give it to you pure and simple. And then we're gonna move on to focus more on now wealth building and learning how to overcome this and use the stock market, use cryptocurrency, use critical thinking skills, and educating yourself by reading The Destruction of African Civilization, where they're going to talk to you, and both Chancellor Williams as well as Sheikh Anta Diop is going to talk to you and made mention of the one thing that has kept us from really getting it together, and that's because we have been competing against each other. And Brother Philippe Matthews does a phenomenal, masterful job of talking about that when he talks about leveling, but this is basically the Negroes. And still a part of the whole trauma that has happened, the PTSD, the post-traumatic enslavement syndrome that Dr. DeGroote talks about, and how that has been keeping us from coming together and working together to rebuild a culture of our own, which we already have. We already have a culture of our own. What we need to do is just recognize it and be comfortable and live in it and enjoy it like we are doing. However, there's this component of wealth building that needs to be put into place. So I'm gonna leave this topic. I'm not gonna talk about the mutated, mentally ill, Eurocentric, mutated Africans anymore. I'm going to only focus on, so when you see me talking and bringing Eurocentric mutates up here like Elon Musk, and who is one of the good ones, and a couple of the others who are on the cutting edge of this technology, but they're functioning purely from a technological perspective and an innovative perspective. And unfortunately, the vast majority of the people that are up front and you can see are Eurocentric or mutated Africans. But in the background, there are a bunch of pure Africans and Indians, East Indians, that are on the cutting edge of all of the software and the programming and the innovations in robotics. One of the top guys is an African. So, and I mean pure African from Africa, okay? One of the top youngest guys into robotics, African. So it's still there, family. And you're gonna see this, you're gonna see this. The top guy right now in technology, youngest guy, his name is, I forget what his name is, Brownlee, something Brownlee, young African-American guy, started when he was 9 years old, 12 years old, young guy. Top guy now, millions, got millions of followers on YouTube. Top guy, African-American, okay? So everything I'm telling you, you're gonna be able to validate, okay? And I want you to go out and validate, all right? But we're gonna move on, all right? And I hope this has been informative, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, family.